The game of golf brings a great deal of happiness and enjoyment into a man's life. It also brings a little sadness and sorrow. I think as we look to the game of golf, we should look to it as a means of relaxation, a means of enjoyment, a way of releasing the tension from the office or whatever profession that you're involved with. I often say that if your game of golf is giving you an ulcer or a headache, you might as well turn professional. It's a great challenge, a continual challenge that never stops being a challenge. You may play 17 holes and not hit a golf shot, but on the 18th hole, the last shot you hit is perfect. And you dream of hitting every shot perfect from that time on. And you strive for that perfection. You may not attain it, but what we hope to do in this program is to give you some basic fundamentals, characteristics, and principles that will help you to attain that perfection. The first and most important basic fundamental in the game of golf is the grip, because it's the only contact the body has with the golf club and the golf ball. There are 3 grips that are employed in the game of golf today, and I will try to go through each one of them for you so that you gain an understanding of each one and how it should function. The first and most important grip is the Varden overlapping grip, where the club is placed diagonally across the palm and fingers of the left hand in this manner. It is a combination palm and finger grip. It's important that you hold the club firm with the last 3 fingers of the left hand, for if you do not, at the top of the swing, the weight of the club head will force those fingers open. You'll have to regrip the club, and then you've lost all the power in the backswing and the cocking of the wrists. This V that's formed here by the thumb and forefinger points approximately to the right shoulder when at address. This is the position of the left hand. The right hand is placed on with the little finger overlapping the forefinger of the left hand. The club is gripped in the fingers of the right hand. You close up. The crease that is here in the palm of the right hand covers the left thumb like that, fits the hands together. It's important that you hold the club firmly with these 3 fingers of the right hand and the thumb, because this is the basis of the golf swing, in the control of the club. It's important also that the V that's formed by the thumb and forefinger points also approximately to the right shoulder. If I take my right hand off, you see that this thumb is placed on the right side of the shaft, whereas when I put my thumb on my right hand on, it's placed on the left side of the shaft. That gives you a good balanced grip, and this is essential in striking the golf ball properly. Now, the other 2 grips that I've mentioned are the overlapping grip, and the other 2 are one is the interlocking grip and the other is the baseball grip, or the full finger grip. Interlocking grip, the left hand is placed on the same manner, except when you place your right hand on, the little finger of the right hand interlocks the forefinger of the left hand in this manner. With the overlapping grip and the interlocking grip, the idea is to cement the hands together and make them work as a unit. Now, the full finger grip, for people that have smaller hands, women and young people that are starting the game, is a more difficult grip to use, simply because the hands have a tendency to work against each other. You place the right hand on in this manner, where all fingers are touching the grip of the club. And for many years I played this way because I have small hands, and finally when I was in high school I changed from a full finger grip to a Varden overlapping grip, and it certainly helped my game. But these are the 3 basic grips that are employed by golfers today, and we hope that you employ one of them correctly and properly. As with the grip, the stance, there are 3 basic stances. One is a square stance, where both toes are placed on an imaginary line, and I have a club here to represent that. That is a square stance. The square stance would be used in playing your middle iron shots or trying to hit the ball straight. Another stance would be an open stance, where the left foot is withdrawn several inches from that imaginary line, or in this instance, the golf club. This is what is called an open stance, a stance that should be used for short irons where you're trying to get the ball up in the air or where you're trying to slice the ball. The third stance is a very strong stance where the left toe touches the club and the right toe is withdrawn several inches. This is a closed stance or a power stance where you're trying to hook the ball or where you're using a long iron or fairway wood or a driver. And these are the three basic stances that are employed for each golf shot. Dan, could you take this club from me? I'm going to keep this one to go through this next segment here. The next fundamental is how we position the ball with our feet with the different clubs. With the irons, the ball is placed 2 to 3 inches in back of the left heel forward in the stance. In a slightly open stance, and what we're striving to do is to catch the ball first and the ground afterwards. In other words, hitting slightly down on the ball. Now, as we move to the woods, I will use a fairway wood, and because of the length of the club, the ball is played a little further forward in the stance, about even with the instep of the left foot. The difference with the iron and the fairway wood, with the iron you're trying to hit slightly down on the ball, catching the ball first, taking a divot afterwards. The fairway wood, we're striving to catch the ball right at the bottom of the swing, picking the ball off the grass, not trying to raise up this way or move forward that way, but try to catch it right at the bottom of the swing, sweep the ball off the grass, which will enable a good fly to the golf ball. Now with the driver, which is the number 1 wood, we use a T, and because of the little added length on the shaft of the club and because less loft on the face, we now move the ball a little further forward to where it's almost to the left toe. What we're trying now to do is to catch the ball on the upswing. Downswing with the iron, the bottom of the swing with the fairway wood, and on the upswing with the driver. Now, Dan, as we move along, give me another club. This work on alignment here. What I'll do is I'll place the club on the ground in the direction that I wish to hit the ball and show how my hands, my hips, and my shoulders are placed in preparation for the hitting and striking of the golf ball. Let me move this way just a little bit so we get flush with that camera. Now it's important that my toes touch that imaginary line to where I'm shooting, that my hips are pointed that way too, and also my shoulders. This is squaring right up with the intended line which you wish to hit the ball. Now with some of these basic fundamentals which we've learned already, we're prepared for the swing. With the weight evenly distributed on the balls of both feet, not back on the heels or up on the toes, but right on the balls of the feet, and the club placed on the ground in this manner with the hands held high up toward the chin, not down flat, but up high. We start the swing by taking the club back square to the intended line of flight by bringing it back with the left hip, the left arm, the left shoulder. Weight is contained within the right side of the right side of the body. It never sways out this way, but the weight is placed in this manner. As you arrive at waist high, the hands then start to bend or cock to a position like this at the top of the swing. From here is a very critical point because most people, because of thinking of distance and most emphasis being on distance today, want to hit the ball like this from the top of the swing. It's not that swing. When you're at the top of the swing, the left shoulder has now moved under the chin All the weight is on the right side of the body. From here, there is a pull of the lower left-hand side of the body, the left heel being placed back on the ground, the hips laterally move toward your target, your hands drop, and at waist high they start to unfold. The right side now is adding the power. The left hand, left arm, and left side is guiding the club through the ball. The weight is forced off the right side onto the left side, and the club moves square towards your intended line or target, and you carry the swing on through to a very high finish. And I move my right foot a little bit this way. Now let's use that in a full swing. The number 1 wood, the most difficult club in the bag to use because it has the longest shaft and the least amount of loft on the face. I might say that once you find a driver that feels good in your hands and you have good results with, don't change, because the driver, in my opinion, is the number 1 club in your bag. Reason for that is because it consumes half the distance on almost every hole that you use it on. It's important that you have confidence in your driver and you make a good swing at it. With the driver, the ball is played toward the left toe, forward in the stance. The head slightly behind the ball because you're trying to catch the ball a little bit on the upswing and lift it off the tee. I use a rather closed stance where the left toe is somewhat closer to the ball than the right toe. Imaginary line here, the right toe would be about 2 to 3 inches in back of that imaginary line. This is a power stance. We're striving for distance. Try to take the club back square, good shoulder turn, and then pull down with the right hand or left arm through the ball, hoping to place the ball in the fairway. Come on, baby, to the left. Left. Let's look at that again in slow motion. Pay particular attention to the hands at the top of the swing. We'll see that swing again. Now we'll demonstrate a fairway wood shot. We have a very interesting shot here into this green. The green is situated between those 2 group of trees down there, and it's going to require a very delicate shot to go into there. As we stated earlier in the basic fundamentals, with a fairway wood, we play the ball about even with the instep of the left foot. The weight is evenly distributed, and I'm going to use a slightly closed stance, which should create a small hook, and I'm going to try to aim the ball to the right side of the green at the 1 tree there and sort of draw it into the opening in the green. I'm going to try to catch the ball right at the bottom of the swing, allowing the loft of the club to lift the ball in the air. Come, lad, now. Again, a slower look at the swing with a fairway wood. Remember, you sweep the ball off of the ground at the bottom of the swing. That's right at the hole. Watch this one. Watch this one. Well, we have a nice little par 3 here, long iron shot. Try to make a nice swing here with a 4-iron. Here with the long iron, we position the ball about 2 to 3 inches in back of the left heel. the weight evenly distributed on the balls of the feet. Now just try to take the club away and slightly hit down on it, hitting through the ball, aiming the ball a little right and drawing it in. Here's another view of the swing with a long iron. Well, Dan, we're right here in the middle of the fairway and have a slightly downhill shot. A little wind blowing a little bit from left to right. The stance is, the ball's slightly above my feet. I'll use a little more open stance this time. And I figure I've got a 7-iron shot, which is a middle iron. What I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to try to aim the ball just a little bit to the right and hit a very gentle draw from right to left into the hole. Let's see if we can bring this to pass. Here's a repeat. Here we're faced with the normal short iron shot. I've selected an 8-iron. The ball is positioned 2 to 3 inches in back of the left heel in a very normal way. Nothing unusual about this shot other than just trying to use a smooth, unhurried stroke. Of course, as most of you know, the distance I hit an 8-iron may be different than yours. You may hit it further, or some of you may hit it shorter. The main thing to remember, position yourself over the ball so that your head is directly over it. Your hands are right behind the ball. You take your line with your shoulders, your hips, and your feet. I'm using a slightly open stance, trying to get the ball up in the air and let it come in softly from right to left onto the flag. We'll slow that swing down with the short iron. This is one of the most breathtaking shots that anyone will ever have. A little pitch over a sand trap to a flag that's cut very close to the trap. A very trouble and difficult shot. Certain fundamentals must be employed to have success with this shot. In other words, we have a slight uphill lie here, so I'll play the ball forward, very much forward in my stance in that the ball is almost to my left toe. Now I'll fan the club open and leave all of my weight back on my right side because I'm going to be swinging up and trying to get the ball high up in the air so that when it comes down on the green, it stops relatively fast. We'll take another look at that in slow motion. Pay particular attention to the hands at the top of the swing. Many times during the course of a round, we experience a very frightening shot, and that's being in a bunker and having quite a long shot to the green. I have selected a long iron here, and what I'm trying to do with this particular shot is I'm positioning the ball forward in the stance about normally, using the normal position about 2 inches behind the left heel. And the idea on this shot is to make sure you keep the left hand and left side moving through the shot. By doing that, I should pick the ball clean or take very little sand and hit a reasonably good shot. Let's see if I can perform it. Dig in with your feet. Make sure you got a good sound, solid base. Stay over the ball and stay still and keep the left arm and left hand moving. We'll see it again in slow motion. We have one of the most difficult shots to play in the game, a side hill lie where the ball is positioned below your feet. It's sitting here in the rough a little bit. The flag is cut on the right side of the green. What happens here is because the ball is below your feet, you have a tendency to either hit the ball straight or hit it with a little bit of a fade. So in order to counteract that a little bit, and to make sure that you maintain your balance, there are certain fundamentals which you have to use. Number one is we flex our knees a little more. Normally the knees would be like this. We're going to bend them a little more, and we're going to try to get the weight on the back part of the feet, simply because as you swing the club, if you do not have them on the back part of the feet, you have a tendency to fall forward up on your toes. So by bending the knees, keeping the weight back on the back part of the feet, we'll hit a couple little shots here for you. This particular shot creates a little problem with a lot of players where the ball is considerably higher in the feet. Side hill lie. In this particular shot, it's important that you aim considerably to the right, play the ball forward in your stance, and keep the weight more on the toes in this particular shot, because if you do not keep it on the toes, the weight, the gravity will have a tendency to pull you back on your heels. So get the weight on your toes and stay right over the ball. Aim a little right because the ball's going to hook. Here it is again in slow motion. Well, we're faced with a nice little uphill lie here. Again, this is a very difficult shot for many players simply because they do not position themselves right. You position yourself with the ball forward, way forward in the stance. It's almost off of the instep of the left foot. You have to put more weight on your left side because if you don't, the law of gravity will pull you down onto your right side and you'll fall back and either top the ball or hit behind it and miss the shot completely. So get your weight up on your left side. Aim just a little bit to the right because you have a tendency to pull this shot, just a little. And then just try to maintain your balance and make a smooth swing. The downhill lie. Woo! That is a fun one. In order to hit this shot, the ball must be played toward the right foot, and the weight must be maintained on the right foot. Again, because the law of gravity, the tendency is to fall forward. By doing that, you'll hit the ball right in the middle of the ball. So keep the weight back on the right foot. Take one less club, because as you come into the ball, the loft is pitched forward, and you take loft off the club with the swing. So if it looks like it's an 8-iron, take a 9-iron. Here's a repeat in slow motion. We're faced here with a little uphill shot. We're blind, we can't see the flag. So there are some characteristics or basic fundamentals we can employ to play a reasonably good shot from down here where you're playing from a blind area. First of all, I've been up, I've checked the distance. Now I come back and I have one of my playing partners raise the flag to where I can see it. Now I remembered how far it was. The flag can be placed back in the hole, and now I go ahead and play just a normal pitch shot, envisioning in my mind the distance and the direction. Well, Dan, we sort of got ourselves behind a tree here. Looks like it's going to have to be a little hook. Well, as you can see, the flag is directly behind that tree. It's going to require a bend from right to left to get that ball around that tree to get it on the green. So what we'll try to do is I'll try to close my stance, bring my right toe back, and I'll try to strengthen my grip also by rolling my left hand toward the right side of my body and putting my right hand under more, giving it being a stronger grip and a more power grip, and this should create a hook. The swing is a little bit from the inside out and over, and that should also create the hook. Let's see if that works. Here you go. We'll see that swing again at slow speed. A nice hook around that tree. Well, we're faced here with one of the typical trouble shots that we have in the course of a round of golf, out in the rough, behind some trees. Just how do we execute that shot? Well, I have selected a middle iron here, a 6-iron on this particular shot. As I have played several 6-iron shots before and showed you the position that you should use in using a middle iron, the ball being placed 2 to 3 inches back of the left heel, we now, because we need the elevation to get it up over the tree, we move the ball further forward. We move it up to where it's almost off the toe of the left foot. And we open the blade slightly. The weight is distributed more toward the toes on this particular shot because we're trying to stay behind and under the ball and get the ball up in the air. We add a little more loft because of opening the face of the club. So therefore, it's important that you take maybe one more club than the shot would normally require. Now the idea is to stay behind it and under it. We'll try this shot here. Well, we're situated here with this tree between us and the flag. The best way to play the shot is from around to the left of the tree with a cut or a fade back. What I'll do is I'll employ some of Trevino's characteristics here by placing myself with a wide open stance like this, the ball forward. What I'll do is I'll roll my left hand to a weak place on the club, rolling it from here over to here, bring my right hand up on top, a weak grip, take the club a little on the outside across, and it should create a nice fade. It'll wind up there on the green somewhere near the flag. Another view of a slice swing, slowed down. Remember, open the stance and take the club on the outside. Well, it's always exciting when you hit the ball in the fairway and you're behind a tree. What I'm going to try to do with this shot is I'm going to try to hit a little low 5-iron underneath the tree that'll hit short and run it up on the green. How we do that is we play the ball back toward the right foot, and we use about a 3/4 swing or a punch swing, in which I'll drive the right hand into the ball, but I must carry the left hand and the upper part of the body through. If I lag with the upper part of the body, it'll create a shank where you'll hit the ball right out over to the right. So we'll just try to hit this little low punch 5-iron. We'll see it again in slow motion. Well, Dan, we sort of hit it over here on the side of this hill and the ball ran down toward the water here. We should be able to play that. Oh goodness, it's right in the edge of the water. You know, a guy could get wet here playing this shot. I think I better put my rain gear on. You think we can hit that, Dan? Well, here we are. What we do is we take a slightly open stance and we sort of close the club a little bit. And what we're trying to do is hit about 2 to 3 inches in back of the ball and keep the left hand moving. And if I do that, it'd be just like an explosion shot out of a sand trap. Here it is again in slow motion. This is what one would call a typical sand shot. The ball is laying nicely up on top of the sand. The flag is very close. What we try to do with this particular shot is open the stance, almost take your belt buckle and point it to the hole. Don't come in and take the normal stance like this, but open your stance up. Face the hole this way as if you were pitching the ball out with your right hand. Open the blade of the club, play the ball even with the left heel, forward in the stance. Try to take the club a little on the outside and down and across. What this should do is just sort of pop the ball out of the sand near the hole. In slow motion, you can really see the normal sand shot principles. We have here a shot that most people dread, a buried lie in the sand trap or a fried egg. But yet there are some basic fundamentals that, if employed, make this shot much easier. The first thing you do is you close up your stance as if you were playing a shot normally out of the fairway. Play the ball back in your stance. Close the blade of the club. Now just try to hit down and through the ball, starting the club into the sand about right at the edge of the crater. Make sure you carry on through with the left hand. This shot, of course, is going to run. There's no way you can stop it, so you just hit it short and let it run up to the flag. And even I don't know about this one. Ball's hit up here and then just trickled back in the sand trap. Well, let's see if we can play this. What you do is place your right foot down here in the trap like this, try to get a firm foundation, and just bring your left in and sort of anchor it there just a wee bit. What you're trying to do now is open the blade of the club just a little bit. All your weight, of course, is back on your right side, trying to hit just underneath the ball with a little open blade. Make sure you carry your left hand through. Let's slow that one down. Dan, we hit a pretty good shot there. It just did get off the edge of the green here. You know, chipping is so important, and it's so important that the individual take the right club. The closer you are to the green, the less loft you use. The further you move from the green, the more loft you use. I'm going to select an 8-iron here. What I'm going to try to do is I use a very narrow stance. I play the ball back in my stance toward my right foot. I keep my hands ahead of the ball. My head is directly over the ball. What I'm trying to do is just to chip the ball, carry it over the fringe of the grass on the green, and then let it roll as if it were a putt. Let's see if we can make that work here. Watch how the hands are placed forward of the ball at address. Well, we're a little closer to the green here. We're going to use a 5-iron. Still using the same principles that we used with 8-iron when we were a little further away. Again, the ball is played toward the right foot. The hands are forward. Eyes and head directly over the ball. The blade of the club appears like it's hooded, but it's square to the intended line which I wish to hit the ball. Now I'm just going to use a little short, smooth, unhurried stroke, hitting the ball first and letting the overspin carry the ball right to the green after it hits upon the edge of the green here. On this particular shot, we're a little further from the green. I've selected a sand iron because all I'm trying to do now is just pitch the ball onto the green about 4 or 5 feet and then just let it roll. Because the ball is sitting in the grass, it will be impossible or very difficult to get any backspin on the ball. So therefore you have to allow for a little more run than you would normally allow for if the ball were sitting on a very closely clipped portion of the fairway. I open the stance. I play the ball about off of my left heel, and here it's important that you carry the left hand through in this manner. Let's try this one. Well, we now have moved into an area which I have had some success with down through the years, and that's on the putting green. Many people have questions about what type putter they should use. Well, my firm belief is that if it looks good to you, if it feels good in your hand and you're having good success with it, go ahead and use it. It makes no difference whether it's a blade putter such as this one, center shafted putter such as this one, or a mallet putter such as this one. This is the one that I use. I prefer it. I find that it's a little easier for me to line up the ball, and it's a little easier for me to make a stroke. The important thing with a putter is the shaft. The shaft should be a firm, stiff shaft and not a shaft that lags a little bit when you're stroking the ball, because when you get there with your hands, you want the putter head to be there too. Many people, as they travel around playing different golf courses, they come in contact with many different type grasses. Bermuda, bent grass, ryegrass. The rye is probably the easiest grass to putt on, and it's a winter grass, a grass that they overseed the greens with. There's not much grain in it, and the ball holds its line much more readily than, say, a Bermuda grass where there's a heavy grain. It's important that you know which way the grass grows so that when you're going against that grain or that nap, you have to hit the ball a little firmer, a little harder, because the ball's going to slow down quicker. And then just by the direct opposite, when you're going with it, the ball will roll very fast. The grass that is most popular on golf courses throughout the world is a bent grass, and it has very little grain if it's cut down, and therefore on those particular greens it's very important that you are aware of the contours and the slopes of the greens. What we will try to give to you today are some of the fundamentals in putting that will maybe help you to become a better putter. As in the golf swing, the most important fundamental is the grip. And there are several different grips that are used by people that putt today. Many use a reverse overlap where the club is placed in the right hand in this manner, and then the left hand is placed on the club where the forefinger extends down over the last 2 or 3 fingers of the right hand. This is called a reverse overlap. There are people that putt with the regular Varden grip or the overlap grip. Then there are other people that putt with their hands in this manner, and baseball grip, or even spread their hands further apart on the grip. The whole idea is to, again, cement the hands together to make them work as a unit. As we move from the grip, we then go to the stance, whereby the feet are placed a certain distance apart where the weight is evenly distributed. It's important that you, again, have good balance. Don't be up on the toes or back on the heels putting, but be right on the balls of the feet. Now, the stance is a very individual thing. You can use an open stance, you can use a closed stance, you can place your feet closer together, you can put them wider, just whatever fits you and your likes and dislikes. I putt with my feet approximately the same width as my shoulders, and I try to position the ball about 3 to 4 inches in back of the left heel. In other words, in this manner, with the hands directly over the ball, the head and the eyes directly over the ball, and I try to line up my feet, my hips, and my shoulders to the intended line which I wish to putt the ball. As many of us miss a green now and then just by 3 or 4 feet, we find that we're just off the surface of the green. And when you're off the surface of the green, if the grass is smooth, the most easiest club to use is the putter. I once heard Gene Sarazen say that we should putt as many putts off the edge of the green as possible, simply because you know that you're going to make contact with the putter. So therefore, all you have to do is worry about how far you're going to hit it. If you use a club with a loft, you have to think about 2 things: how far you're going to hit it and whether you're going to hit it. Here I'm about 20 feet from the hole, and I'm just off the green. You can see that the apron is cut very low. It's almost like the green, only it's maybe a 1/4 of an inch higher. The grass is a 1/4 of an inch higher than the green. When I settle in over this putt, I like to take a couple little practice swings to loosen up the tension. And I take my line, and you'll see in the distance that the flag is in the hole. As you're off the green, you putt at the flag, particularly some of these fiberglass flags where the ball, if it's going a little fast, will hit them. The flag gives a little bit, and the ball usually drops in the hole or just stays right around the hole. I would recommend that you putt at the flag anytime you're off the green. We're faced here with about a 40-foot putt. What I strive to do with this is I have checked to see just how far I am and if there are any impurities in my line, little rocks or things that sometimes come out from the sand trap from the play before you arrive at the green. You pick those up, move those, and I've checked the contour of the green to determine which way the putt is going to roll. Now what I'm going to try to do is position myself over the ball and try to make a smooth, unhurried stroke. You'll see that because I am 40 feet away, that the stroke will be quite long. As we get closer to the hole, the stroke becomes shorter and more abrupt. I'm very conscious of distance here. In positioning myself over the ball, I have set myself on the line which I intend to hit the ball. Now all I have to do is just make that club head move on that line. It's very important to keep the putter low to the ground, keep the blade square, and as you look at the stroke, it appears that the putter blade closes on the backswing, but it does not. It's just perfectly square to the intended line. The distance is the important factor here, and the speed of the putt. Watch the putting stroke in slow motion. Another thing to remember when putting the ball is to keep your head still. So many of us have the tendency to want to see where the ball is going. Make sure you keep your head right over the ball until after you've struck the ball. As we now are faced with about a 3-foot putt, this is usually the result of a 40-footer is faced with about a 3-footer. And I recommend that you spend twice as much time practicing 3- and 4-foot and 2-foot putts, because you'll have more of those in the course of a round than you will the longer putts. So as you're putting from a great distance to the hole, try to envision a circle around the hole of about a 3-foot circle all the way around the hole, and try to lag the ball into that circle. Then devote that time to practicing this distance putts. The same fundamentals are used by positioning yourself. It's a shorter stroke, and of course the blade is kept square, the head is kept down, and it's a smooth, unhurried stroke. We'll see it again in slow motion. As we now have completed the show, we've showed you a variety of shots, taught you the basic fundamentals of the game. Hope that they make sense to you, that your game improves. If it doesn't, we would recommend very highly that you see your local PGA professional.
Don Morris, president of Morris Video.
And I'm George Morris. Thank you for watching our program. We hope you found it helpful and fun to watch.
If you'd like to broaden your horizons, Here are some of our other programs to help you help yourself.